Somebody asked me about ebooks, and I'm not opposed to ebooks. But the key with ebooks is that you need to be able to take notes and highlight and make. So if you're in a reader program, you got a thing that allows you to do all that, that's great. But if it's just, you don't want to pay for the book, whatever it is, make sure, like today, I'm going to come around, I'm going to take a look at your work and be like, oh, did you do anything with it? Did you read it? Did you highlight anything? Did you have any questions? Like that type of dialogue and discussion, you're not just going to have with me, you're going to have with one another. And the text, if you will, is the primary thing that we jump into. It's like a rabbit hole. We jump in it, and if you don't have the text or you're not using the text, it just turns into a fiasco. But if you're a tech person, you got the things online, all right, I'm not against that, but it has to be a working document that I can see, your neighbor can see, people can see, that you can notes and work with and have dialogue with. So, any questions on texts? Please, please, please get this book ordered today. Raise your hands that have not ordered this, at least so that I know a number when I talk to the guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got 8 in this class, and then I'll just give them a heads up that says, hey, there's 8 hooligans that are going to be calling you or going to be ordering it. Has anybody had any problems? No. Outstanding, outstanding. All right. So today's lesson, so what are we up to today? We're the nature and value of a liberal education. Now words matter, right? The nature is what a thing is. Oops. And value is the prioritization, emphasis, importance of a thing. Now, it might be like in and of itself have some value, or it might just have value personally to you. I love old trading cards. Like old school baseball trading cards. Like if you can get pre-war stuff, 1800 baseball cards, those tobacco cards, like I love, you know what, but like they have value to me, but in and of themselves, it's a piece of paper from 1888. You know, like in and of itself, it's a piece of paper. But for me, it takes on a new value, all right? Or it might be like a human person. Right, like a human person. Why was what Hitler did wrong? Was it wrong because I thought it was wrong? Or was it wrong because what he did to people, to somebody else, was a violation of their value? Whether or not Hitler gives a shit about them, he violated their value. If Hitler burned a card, an 1888 baseball card, would anybody care? Well, maybe. But he did. He burned people. And everybody's like, right now in China, what's one of the big things in China that people are like saying, hey, we got to wake up a little bit. Anybody know about the Uyghurs? If you don't know about the Uyghurs, you should. They're your fellow human beings. But because it's in Asia and not Europe, we're like, oh. But basically what China's done is taken a group of people, sent them north to concentration camps, to labor camps, to work camps, and nobody knows what the hell's going on there. Hello, this is what Hitler did. Potentially, likely, a genocide. Why should we care? Well, I don't know. Should we? So the value of something is its importance, its emphasis, it's the prioritization of the thing itself. Sometimes it's external or internal. So, of a liberal education. And once again, we got to define terms. What does it mean to be liberal, and what is an education? Does this mean you're progressive and you're democratic? Does this mean you sit in a classroom and you pay to have somebody teach you? Those are things, that's going to be one of the processes we'll go through here is defining what things mean, what things are. And so today, hopefully, we'll get to the back end of the class and we will have defined a little bit more about the nature and value of a liberal education. All right? So, first things first, your who am I assignments. Grab your who am I assignments and I'll collect them. If you just have them on the side, just go ahead and pass them to the middle, pass them forward, and people I'll grab them at the front. John, this would be one of the handouts you'll get. You can do it for Tuesday. It's just who am I inventory for me. I collect it, and then I get to know who you are. Okay. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to train you, right? I'm going to train you to be a part of a community of people, but to develop trust where you learn that it's not about hiding or whatever. It's just about the reality of the situation and being comfortable in front of it, right? In high school, when you don't do your homework, what do? Crawl underneath your desk. Like, hope they don't call on, right? That's not, we're in the big boys league right here. Who didn't do the assignment for today? Boom. All right. Can you get it to me underneath my door by the end of the day? If possible, that'd be fantastic. All right. If not, then just get it to me on Tuesday. No. Email it to me. All right. There's only 2 of you. I'll print them off. Right. Then I got the hard. Just email it to me either way. All right. If you can get it by the end of the day, that would be preferred. Cool. Now, sometimes it affects your grade, sometimes it doesn't. But overall, that's not the point here. The point is accountability for the task, for the work before you. And so thanks for everybody for doing that. Look forward to getting to know you a little bit. Savannah. See, this is great already. We're Savannah. Savannah right here. You'll be, oh, Savannah, right? And then I get to look over and be like, oh, man, who didn't put their picture on the front cover, you know? I'll be like, oh, man. Then I get to flip over and I get to find out, oh, they didn't put their picture on the inside cover. Oh, gosh, dang it. You know, and I won't call out who that is, but point being, those types of things are valuable, and I'd love to know who that person is, but I'll just have to figure it out later. Second, reading for today. So you had your 2 assignments. The first one, I said the reading for notes. I said it's the second. It's not the priority. So read that one, take a look at it, peruse it. But Pieper's Liberal Arts is the primary one we're going to talk about. All right, so grab Pieper's argument or Pieper's article on the liberal arts, and we'll begin there. Now, when we take a look at, actually, I'll give you mine, John. I'll give you all of mine. You'll need the syllabus, but otherwise, this was the first article on how to read a book. And it walks through and it talks about things. Actually, flip your article on how to read a book to the 3rd page, and then have Pieper's article next to it. This is the Who Am I assignment. You recreate this on your own and email it to me. There's a bunch of questions for you to answer that I can get to know you. Keep it to 1 page. The front side and then the back side. So, how to read a book. I just gave away my handout here, so. Go to use PTML, Personal Text Markup Language, halfway down on the summary table on page 3. Mark up your reading with your own notes. This helps you learn and also helps you find important passages later. Circle, highlight, or underline that one. That's the technique we will use in this class. PTML, Personal Text Message learning. Right? So in there, you're going to find, as a matter of fact, I copied one of the handouts I copied for you has my PTML in it. Right? It's like I got questions and I got notes and it's like my own language. And I learned to decipher it. And this is part of the reason I struggle to transition to technology reading, is because technology reading I have to retrain myself. And I don't like it. And so I'm like, no, I want to do it my way, right? And so you will see that it's your own language, but it's so that you're capable of having dialogue and discussion with people about the text when that time comes. And so right now, it would be expected that myself, not because I need to, but that I come around and I would see things like this. Philosophy is free insofar as it is not geared towards some purpose outside itself. What's your name?
Jonas.
Jonas, why did you underline that?
Because that stood out to me out of the text. That, that is the definition for this person of philosophy.
So if it stood out to him, it seems to be a definition of philosophy. Perfect. And it just cut through all the other stuff in the article, right? Now, might it be that the other stuff in the article is important? Sure, but you're not a scientist. You're not a genius. You don't have a thing memorized. You're going through and just pulling out highlights and insights, and then in class, when we have a dialogue, guess what else you might gain? Notes and insights from other people. And so as you're reading it, you're also adding to it, and you're making notes. Oh, here's an insight. Oh, yeah, that was good. Oh, yeah, I really didn't think about that before. Or somebody might be like, yeah, I got a definition here, right? And in the article, it doesn't define this, but I looked it up, and this means this. And then you're like, oh, then everybody's kind of circling the word and making a definition off to the side. So this is the work, if you will, that you do in here. Right? We're not memorizing for an exam that's matching or multiple choice. No, we're reading and examining and digging into text, and we're growing in our knowledge and our insight and our wisdom as it relates to that text. And so that form of note-taking, PTML, is what I want you to be doing as you read through, so that when it's all said and done, here's one I just highlighted, right? Here's one that's marked up. It's got notes on it. I have like 4 of these. So here's one where I just circled and highlight because out of this article, I just want to focus on tradition in this paragraph. Like, there's all kinds of different reasons, and they're your reasons. I'm not going to tell you how to do it necessarily. I might offer you some of my techniques, but I want to be able to walk around and say, look at this. Can you write that small?
Well, yeah, it's like a pen.
That's a great pen. Anybody love pens? Love good pens. Look at this thing. I mean, she can write like, that's awesome, right? Not only does it tell the professor you read it and you're prepared in your class, but it allows you to actually do the work of the engagement, right? So then I walk around and see Roman's got a few things underlined, all right? Well, John doesn't because he wasn't here, right? But you look and say, all right. Now, when you're dialoguing and working with one another, the point is honesty for dialogue. So if you haven't done the work, then you just haven't done the work, and then you do the work from where you're at now, right? Jump in and start along. So that's the checking of notes. Every once in a while, I might be like, hey, let me see your stuff. Like, are we doing the work here? And hopefully I never kick everybody out. It's only happened once. 2 years ago? I don't remember when it was. You ever had the class that sucks where everybody shows up and nobody says anything and the professor's just like struggling? And the reality is that it's a struggle because nobody did anything for the class. And so everybody's like, that's the type of stuff where every once in a while it kind of comes to a head. We have conversation. For the most part, it hasn't happened. I've only kicked everybody out once in my career. So I don't think it'll be this class. All right, next. We will begin class with what's called statio. Statio is a technique of personal preparation. It actually is an architectural term. It refers to a space outside of anybody have the home where you might have the front door, but actually you have like a lean-to on the side of your house, and there's actually a door right here that you'll walk into, right? And then what do you do in this room?
The mud room?
It's the mud room, right? You call it the mud room or the tack room or the entryway, right? Could be the entryway of your home. Right, and this is where you take your boots off, or you put your cowboy hat up, or whatever else. If you're West River, West River folks around here, right? You know, my brother lives West River. You know, this is where his hats go because you don't wear hats in the house except for baseball players and city kids, right? So this is the preparation room. This is where you get ready to go inside, right? Where you stop, and for me, it's like, all right, here we go. What's mom got? You know, what's the kids got? And it's like, great. 9 times out of 10, I walk in the house. But if I walk in the house, I have to make a choice to walk in with a certain mind frame. And so I take a deep breath, collect myself, try and get rid of my negative thoughts, and then I go in. Because my kids don't need to be burdened with my crap from the day. Neither does my wife. Right? And so then I go in, and then it's like, all right, let's do this. So this location, if you will, is physical and spiritual. And when I say spiritual, I mean it's immaterial. You can't touch it. It's in my mind and heart. It's in my mind and heart. It's a place that I go to prepare for the work ahead. So statio, it's a technique of personal preparation for the work ahead. Now that work might be sleeping. You know, you gotta get in your skivvies and whatever else, you know, prepare for taking your nap or whatever else. Or it might be going to actual work, or it might be shooting a free throw at the basketball line. Basketball players in here? Anybody? Baseball? All right. Baseball players. How important is routine? Very. Same thing you do every time you come up to the plate, right? All right. And then what you find is, you'll find like they put their foot in. Right? Well, what was that breath before they stepped in the box? That was statio. Or basketball players when they get to the line. All right? Or before you come out, like I was baseball and basketball coach, but in basketball, you always, before you came out, everybody was in the locker room and you were kind of sitting there before the coach addressed you. You got your mind right and you got in a good space. And then there's also that hallway, like before you came out into the gym, before, beginning of the game, before you come running out and do, all that kind of stuff. That space outside of the gym is the statio. All right? Well, it comes in the Benedictine monastic tradition. This is when they get ready to go into church. There's a hallway. That's the statio. Maybe there's some hooks where their prayer vestments are or things like that. And they all get in a line. They all line up before they process into the church. And at Mount Marty University, if you've been in our chapel, on the other side of the chapel from where we enter is the doors that go into the monastery. And that hallway, technically, would be called the statio. It's where the sisters line up, 2 by 2, and they get ready to go into prayer. That's how a technique that I use to train us in the preparation for class. We'll go into statio for a period of time, usually like 30 seconds. And it's time for you to take a couple of deep breaths. I'd encourage you to take your phone and set your phone down. Maybe even put something over your phone. Sometimes I'll ask you to look up definitions or something, but for the most part, your phone's just like cocaine, right? It's just like feed me, feed me, feed me, right? It's like a joint. You're just like, smoke me, smoke me, smoke me. You're like, no, you're bad for me, right? Right? So say no to the cocaine, like put your phone down, cover it up, hide it. If you can like not even bring it to class, that'd be best, but I can't do that, I don't. Anybody not have a phone on them? Yeah, right? Cocaine. It's a drug. Told you. So take your phone, set it down, hide it. Couple of breaths. We would propose in our tradition to be human is to be a body and a spirit. And so what you're doing is you're training your body in order to control and mature your spirit. So Statio will prepare us. Sometimes you close your eyes. It's a little weird and awkward at first. You're like, oh, and then you're kind of like this, wondering if people are looking at you. Then you're like, I wonder how many people are actually doing this thing. Like, oh, no, nobody else is doing this. They're all just sitting there, right? Whatever. You sit up straight sometimes, you kind of straighten your shoulders out. You become attentive to your physical person. Then you go into your mind. And then you begin to do that with your mind, like try and slow your mind down, try and get rid of the things that you brought in here, right? You're going through the backpack, getting rid of the things that you brought in here, right? Maybe you thought of something and you got to make a note in order to get it out of your head, right? So you write something down quick, get rid of it, right? And then your heart, like my emotions and how I'm feeling and some of that stuff. Then I will open in a prayer. Typically, I'll just either pray spontaneously. I'm a Christian. Believe Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. This is a Christian Catholic Benedictine University. We have no shame in the game. But I also know that you guys come from all walks of life, right? Yeah, sure. Maybe some of you are in on that. Maybe some of you aren't. Well, that's all right. But this is also a place of diversity and a place where we can understand that you can have diversity and understand that people are different. And when you sign up for a Christian university, you get a professor that prays. So that'll be wonderful. I'll say some sort of quick little prayer. Then we'll get to work. Cool? Now, I'm undisciplined. I'm unorganized. Which means for like 3 weeks we'll do this and then we'll stop doing it again. Right? And then it's the disciplined person in this class that's supposed to stop and say, hey, Professor Rudd, we haven't done Statio today. And oh, yes. Cool? One other thing, the sign of the cross. The ancient tradition of the church had the cross as a prayer. It also was like the sign that marked the Christian. Some traditions, even in like I've got friends from Eritrea. It's northeastern Africa or Eastern Africa. And in their tradition, the youth don't do it as much anymore, but the elderly, all the grandmas, they all got a cross actually tattooed in their forehead. Because they're marked with the sign of the cross at baptism, and they literally mark themselves with the sign of the cross. It's a sign to the world, right? Catholics and some other Christian traditions do this once a year on Ash Wednesday. We're like, hey, let's play let's get some ashes, Remind us that we're going to die or something like that, So just a heads up, I'll begin and close my prayers with the sign of the cross. It's something anybody can do. It's not just for Catholics, but Catholics are the ones that kind of maintained and have continued to do it. But it just reminds the Christian that they believe in a God that's distinct from the Jews and from the Muslims. The God for the Jews and the Muslims is singular and one. The God for the Christians is one, but has 3 parts, if you will. It's like a flower with 3 petals. There's the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Each 3 are distinct, but one. It's a mystery. How does it work? I don't know. It's a mystery. Does it mean you can't kind of get some insights in it? No, you can get some insights in it. And so this is where St. Patrick made the clover a tool that he would use to teach, at the time, the pagan Celts that converted to Christianity about the Christian God. He'd use a 3-leaf clover, and he'd say it's one flower with 3 petals. God is like the flower. Okay? So that's what the sign of the cross represents. Anybody can do it. Feel free to join me. that'll be the transition from statio into prayer. So, statio, 30 seconds. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Grant me, O Lord, my God, a mind to know you, a heart to seek you, wisdom to find you, conduct pleasing to you, faithful perseverance in waiting for you, and a hope of finally embracing you. Amen. You're all ready for this? Get your notebooks out, get your pens, pencils, ready to roll, baby. Let's do it. All right. Reflection. This is going to be a place of examination and reflection. And so I want you to think about your own personal disposition. Who am I? Like, what does it mean to be me? All right, well, first I'm this thinking thing. And so when I think about who am I, all right, I'm a thinking thing. And as a thinking thing, I'm also like in a process of becoming. What do I mean by that? I'm in the process of becoming a better thinker or a worse thinker. Just like athletics, right? If you stop working out over a 2-week break, what happens when you come back? Die. Yeah, right. You puke. Why? Because you became something. You became something less than what you were, and therefore, you're suffering the consequences as your body's trying to train yourself back to where you were. So, in this process of becoming, it can be positive or negative. It's on a sliding scale, right? It's like a sliding scale. And so my thinking operates that way. And what we want to do here is stop to say, all right, the first thing I need to do is assess where I'm at on the scale. How is my thinking about whatever the topic is? I'm supposed to be ready for a biology test tomorrow, and my thinking thing has not been trained, and it's really over here on the negative side, and this is not going to be fun. Let's cram for the next 6 hours, and let's see if I can't slide this thing up a little bit so that when I walk into my biology test tomorrow, I can pass. Or you might be a good student, or you might have done all the work preparation. You've been slowly building this scale up so that you have good thinking, and it's like your test time comes, you got a test tomorrow, and you're like, oh, I just need to do like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I just need to do a little bit of work, and boy, I'm really solid. Let's rock and roll. Let's do this thing, right? So this thinking thing that we want to train, I want to do this process, all right, is a process of examination. Maybe the easiest way is reflection. Is the process by which we assess. It's a process of assessment. Of what? Of things. / reality. The world. Consider your predispositions. Consider your disposition to this reality. Who are you before me right now? Test case scenario. How I treat a student. Remind me of your name. Jonas. Jonas is my test case. All right. I'm going to treat Jonas really nice. I like Jonas. When I talk to Jonas, I smile. When Jonas walks in, I'm like, hey, what's up, Jonas? Hey, how are you? How's your dad? No, I don't know your dad. But maybe I did. What's your name?
Savannah.
Savannah walks in and I'm like,
Good morning, sir.
hey, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Good. Jonas, could you do me a favor? Would you run down? All right, we go on. We kind of, what's going on here? Is it possible that Savannah and the rest of the class might be picking up on something? What might they be picking up on?
The difference in the treating.
The what?
The difference.
What difference?
The way you're acting towards them.
How I'm treating you. Savannah, maybe it's, we could do this in all kinds of different ways, right? Maybe I go the whole semester and I never talk to Savannah. I never call on her. I never ask her a question. I never even, like, I can't remember her name. What's your name again? Like, in 3 months, which, by the way, I probably will still do, because, gosh, names. So I love you all, but names. Savannah, like, I can't remember your name, like, all that stuff, right? But Jonas, my man, all right? Your thinking thing is happening right now. It happened when you walked in. You were thinking, I'm going to like this guy. I'm not going to like this guy. He has a cool beard. Nice beard, dude. Oh, yeah, my first guy. Boy, bald, though. Doesn't have any hair on his head. Good thing he can grow it on his chin. Might have been like, oh, great, one of these classes. Oh, great. Whatever, right? Your thinking thing is operating and working. Does any of it mean that it's positive, or is it possible that some of it's positive and some of it's negative? Is it possible that some of it is true and some of it is false? So here we are, right? We have these thinking things that we call our brains, and our test case is how I'm treating Jonah and Savannah, but we can put this into all kinds of, maybe it's African American, right? Maybe it's the black kids. I'm like, yep, love them. They're my folk. Those are my people. Right? Maybe it's the cowboy kids, right? West River. I already brought it up once, didn't I? Who's from West River? Raise your hand so that I can know that you're my people, so that I know that you get special, right? Jesus folks. Who are my Christians? Let's find out who the ones that Professor Retton likes, because he's a Christian too. He already told us. So I wonder if he'll give special treatment to him. Oh, of course, right? This process happens every day, but do we ever train ourselves in how to identify and mature that process of becoming, so that we become people that think well? That is what examination is for. This examination of, first, what are we examining or reflecting? We're examining our mind and our heart. We're examining our mind and our heart. This mind is my thinking. And my heart can be everything from my desires to my core identity. So it could be like, kind of, my heart represents my emotional life, but it also represents like this deepest place where my human identity comes from, right? Like, I might have thinking which is impacted because I have an identity problem. I might not love myself, therefore I think everybody else is out to get me. Or maybe they actually are out to get you. I don't know. That's why we reflect and examine, to stop and say, what is real? What is true? So this step one, this examination and reflection of the mind and heart. Right? And so then when we do this examination, the goal here is to be attentive to the inner dialogue. What's going on in my mind and heart? And then be able to ask questions of self and others. My father-in-law is a wonderful man, but he really, really struggles with the dialogue with others. I have a fairly progressive brother-in-law who's an emergency room doctor in Minneapolis and is overwhelmed with COVID. Like, he is so overwhelmed, like, he's on the front line, it's acute. He's like, would people just wear masks and get vaccinated, please? Then there's some people that are like, oh, masks don't work. Some people like, vaccines, we don't even know what's in them. They aren't even tested. We have to be capable of being attentive to the inner dialogue. He has to be attentive to it, to his mind and heart, and he has to be able to ask himself questions of himself and others. So, like, that's an example, right? In this whole pandemic, like, who doesn't give a shit? Who cares? Right? Oh, don't you love others? Oh, but this whole thing is just, and we're poor at dialogue, right? So we just yell, scream, we think we're right, everybody else is wrong. It doesn't matter if you're a progressive, you think the conservatives are wrong, and if you're a conservative, you think progressives are wrong. It's like everybody has their doctor and their facts and their opinions. Am I right? Yeah. Well, all I want to say is, like, okay, whatever, get back to thinking, get back to reflection and examination, and be attentive to your inner dialogue, and then begin asking questions about yourself and others. Is it possible that I could be wrong? Nope, never been wrong in my life. Of course I've been wrong. I have a thinking thing that's broken at minimum, or is becoming, is immature at minimum. So it's either that I have an immature thinking thing, and it's broken. Yeah, my thinking thing, I need other people, I need help, I need to go to school, I need to learn from others, this type of stuff, all right? So my father-in-law and my brother-in-law got into a little tussle at the lake this last summer. Here's what happened. It was like, I don't actually know the details, but like, let's just say it's about masks. Everybody should be in masks, brother-in-law. Father-in-law, whatever. And the brother-in-law, like, challenging, it wasn't masks. I think it was more about kids' behavior or bedtimes, or no, maybe what they eat, right? They, like, my brother-in-law, they're not vegan, but they, and my father-in-law's a cattle rancher. Like, his family runs crops and cattle. And now his son is kind of more on the vegetarian side of things. They're going to get together, live in a relationship to each other, vacation to the lake house, all these fun things, and all of a sudden it comes to a head. Father-in-law would have none of it. What happened was he immediately shut it down. He said, I don't want to talk about it. My father-in-law is of the old generation. Didn't talk about your emotions and feelings. Don't just do the work, whatever. They're cattle ranchers, they're farmers, they're the most humble people in the world. He'd give you the shirt off his back, but he can't have a conversation with his son about what their children eat and why. Anybody have any experience like that in your family at all? Right? It's not uncommon. Could be around sexuality, it could be around food, it could be around church, all kinds of things. This whole semester will be a process by which we seek to train ourselves to be people that examine and reflect upon our mind and heart and give attention to this inner dialogue that we have with ourselves and others. Is it possible that I could treat people unfairly, intentionally, in this class? 100%. Is it likely? How will you know? Is it possible that I'll have favorites? Do you have favorites? Do you have a favorite friend? Or do you like all your friends equally? Do you have a favorite coach, or do you like all your coaches equally? Right? Favorite brother, favorite sister? No, like it seems in nature, our whole experience is that we have a prioritization. That we seem to have a prioritization of loves. And what we want to do is we want to order them. Now, if my father had a favorite child, does that mean that my father would love me the same as the favorite? You know, those are all difficult questions that we could answer, but the point in here is the place in which you answer those questions begins here with the dialogue. We will talk about a lot of topics in here. Nothing, as a matter of fact, will be off limits. Partly because that's what a university is for. Partly because it's in those differences in discussions and dialogues that ultimately we can get to the heart of what a liberal education is. And that is, a liberal education is a place in which the human person can discover freedom. The freedom found in an education into the truth of reality. A liberal education is the training of the human person into the truth of reality. The fruit of a liberal education ought to be freedom. Now we're going to have to define freedom. All right? Does freedom mean that I have no restraints? Nobody can tell me what to do? We have to define it, right? Might be. It also might be something else. If I have a guitar and I just pick it up and I just do whatever I want with it, is that playing the guitar? Not really. What am I doing? I'm just banging away on this piece of wood with some strings on it that make noises. To be free to play the guitar means that I need to understand the nature of the guitar and what a guitar requires of me in order to play it freely. And the more excellent I do that, the more beauty comes forth. And beauty becomes things that we like, so this is the direction that we'll go. The great question of human existence is the red thread that will run throughout the curriculum. The great philosopher Socrates, and as I talk like this, sometimes this is where you'll want to be taking a note or two, right? Oh, he said Socrates. There's Socrates, a dash. Oh, and then he's probably going to read a quote. Oh, what's Socrates saying? So you want to be taking notes as the lecture goes. I'm not always going to put everything on the board. And when I do, it's almost never organized. So you're going to be like, Professor Rutten, I really do enjoy you. You're entertaining, but my God, would you and then I'm going to be like, at the end of the semester, can I have your notes? And then your notes will help me, I don't know, be better organized for next semester. Maybe not. So the red thread that's going to run through this is this reflective process upon the great questions of human existence. Socrates is attributed with a quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates lived in ancient Athens, and in Athens, they also had temples. One of them was in the city of Delphi, where they would go to visit the oracles that would prophesy and foretell them their futures. And above the temple portal where you would go to visit The oracle was inscribed, know thyself. Before you walked into the future teller, you were reminded the first step to tomorrow is knowledge of today. The first step for me to becoming something positive is for me to know where I'm at now. Does that make sense, Savannah?
Yes.
So know thyself. That's the place we want to start. Who am I right now? What does it mean to be me? What is the nature and value of me? And how are we going to discover this? What's the technique we're going to use? What's the place we're going to start to discover the nature and value of us as humans? What's your name? Kim? What's the method? What's the technique? What's the place we're going to start to discover what it means to be me? Examination, reflection, interior work. Not by studying and reading and memorizing, but by stopping and reflecting, pausing. This is why we train you in Statio. The unexamined life is not worth living. I've got a sister, I love her to death. I'm taping these now for future students. At some point, I suppose my sister and father-in-law and brother-in-law, hopefully they don't see it. My sister especially as well, because I'm going to talk about her now. My sisters, like me, love to talk. My sisters have a whole nother volume of talking. They also talk, and it's like there's nobody else in the room. You ever met somebody like that? They just talk ad nauseum. It's like they're puking out words. Or like on the phone, you could just do this. That's my sisters. The what I want, stop. Catherine, take a breath. Allow somebody else to contribute to the dialogue. Do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear how it sounds? I mean, my sisters, even myself. I mean, sometimes my sisters, my one sister, Christy, she says shit, and you're just like, Christy, do you realize how that sounded? That sounded awful. My sister's the most sincere, loving, wonderful person in the world. She wanted to be a missionary of charity, Mother Teresa's order. Like, she cares about the world. And sometimes she just says it, and you're just like, Christy, what did you... Because she doesn't always slow down. She doesn't always pause. She doesn't always think about what it is that she is going to say. This is what this course will do. It will train us to be, write this down, a philosopher. It will train us to be a philosopher. It will train you in the knowledge and technique of philosophical inquiry. Meaning that is the process of coming to know things, to be curious about things. The technique of philosophical inquiry. And about the integration of that inquiry into our personhood. This class could all be about other people, or you have the complete opportunity to integrate it into your personal life. To actually not just talk about how to become somebody better, but to become somebody better. Does that make, what's your name? Cameron, does that make sense? You could study and read all of this, walk out the door, and it doesn't matter a lick. Or Cameron, you could be like, damn, this is good stuff. Maybe actually if I apply this to my life, I might become somebody different. And that's the magic.
How did you know it's good for you?
What's that?
How did you know it's good for you?
Who? What?
Like this.
Oh, very good. You could title this course, The Good Life. And it would all be a conversation, a dialogue with ourselves and others about what this is. This is part of what we will do, is we'll ask ourselves the questions that are, what does it mean to be me? Who am I? What does it mean to be a human person? What does it mean to be a human person that's good? Oh, so we got to, I don't know. Right now I'm going to say I don't know. I know because of study and the way I've lived for 44 years. I've come to understand that something has fulfilled me, something has borne fruit of peace, joy, goodness, beauty, niceness, kindness, all of these things. And then I've also had experiences that were made me angry, resentful, pissed off, right? Made me feel worse, think worse, be worse. And I just made an assessment. I took time each day. I reflected upon the outcomes of my behaviors and my thought process. And I realized some stuff made me better, some stuff didn't. The stuff that didn't, I pitched out of my backpack. You were here yesterday, right? The backpack analogy.
On Tuesday.
What's that?
I was here on Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah. I pitched the stuff that was bad. I kept the stuff that was good. Boom. And then along the way, I just kept that process. Examine, reflect. Is it good or bad? Is it helping me become a better person or making me a worse person? This is the whole process of the course. Does that help? Good question. Here's a Kit Kat. You like Kit Kats?
Yeah, sure.
For asking a good question. What does it mean to be good? Everybody says they're a good person. You know that, right? Everybody thinks they're a good person. We have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be good? What does it mean to do the right thing? That we will talk about. It's a science called aretiology, or the science of virtue. So we'll get to it. All right. It's an opportunity for you not only to learn to be a philosopher, but to acquire the habit of a philosopher yourself and equip yourself with the tools that will permit you to live a good life. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's like the perfect time for the question. It was the next paragraph. The tools that will permit you to live a good life. To be good. To actually become that which we propose. Now, who gets to determine what's the good life? Well, that's you. I mean, that's ultimately the philosopher comes to a conclusion about what this is. We will study different perspectives about what other people think this is. All right? Some people think it's pleasure. The good life is found in material well-being. Big house, big boat. Some people think it's found in pleasure, sex, more sex. Some people think it's found in honor. Look at me. I don't know. Are those the things that lead to the good life? Winning. Some people think just win. Is that what the good life? Does it matter how you win? Oh. Well, maybe it matters how you win too. Maybe you can win, but you can do it in a way that isn't good. We'll look at different perspectives about what a good life looks like. We don't want being good to simply be an empty slogan, but a true reality, a possibility that lays before you, a path that is open for you to travel. But it requires you to become a philosopher. That is done by becoming a seeker of truth and walking in the way of wisdom. Becoming a seeker of truth, coming to know the truth of things, the truth of reality, the truth of a guitar, right? How is a guitar? What is a guitar and how does it work? That same thing applies to me. What am I and how do I work? In order to know what the good life is, I might need to know what a thing is. In order to know what a good life is for me, I might need to know what I am. And so we'll begin there. What does it mean to be human? This reflection and examination is a spiritual work. What do I mean by that? I mean that it is a work of the immaterial mind and heart. It is not your heart pumping that we will do this work with. It is not the brain as an organ that you will do. It is an immaterial reality called the mind and the heart that we will do this work with. So when I say it's a spiritual reality, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, it's prayer. I mean, it's an interior work done with immaterial tools of mind and heart. The course will be framed around the great question, who am I? And so let's begin right there. Who am I? What does it mean to be human? Free write in your notes right now. Who am I? And in order to know who you are, well, let's just begin there. Takes 60 seconds, free write, who am I? Just respond to that question. Who are you? All right, here we go. Share with the partner next to you your response to who am I? Go. 60 seconds. Share with somebody around you your response to the question, who am I?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Who am I over here? Who am I? Just throw things out.
Daughter.
Daughter, go.
Student athlete.
Athlete, student. Athlete. Are those the same thing or different? Student and athlete, same thing, different? Different, all right. Then I'll go with and. Keep going. Go, just spit it out. Throw it out. Brother, go.
Human.
Human, go.
Uncle.
Uncle, nice.
A friend.
Father.
Father, go.
Christian.
Christian. Keep going.
Musician.
Short.
Hard work.
All right. We won't get into details, but I'll just point out some of these have to do with an identity, and some of these have to do with attributes. Is my height a part of my identity, or is it an attribute? It's an attribute. It's something that is attached, if you will, to my identity. Being short or tall, black or white for that matter, actually. You don't choose them. Attributes are not chosen, but they also don't impact your core identity. Friend. Daughter. Brother. Human. Like, all of a sudden, it's now we're getting into things like, oh, wait a minute, maybe these are more than just being left-handed. Maybe these are like deeper. Maybe these are the things that like people die for, right? When we look at these, you guys have a great group here. We have religious traditions, right, that we have as a part of who we are. We have relationships to others. We have things that we do. It's a very good list. Who said we're human? All right. I want to jump from here. Now, as a part of being human, all right, the I is a part of a we. I am a human, and as a part of humans, I am a part of a species. I am a part of a group of people like me. Second question, what does it mean to be human? Go. What does it mean to be human? Now, would your response be different if I asked the question with a little distinction? What is the definition of being human? If you looked up human being, what would the definition be? For Tuesday, you need to look up the definition of human being. Provide a definition for what a human being is. Now, you put your little reflection, right? You put some notes, you put a little paragraph. So on Tuesday, when we come back, we'll take and we'll put up our conversation, our reflections about what it means to be human. So, what was your name? Rio? Yeah. What Rio had, and then we'll go, all right, here's the definition, and I want to have a dialogue about what we think and what a dictionary says, and what the relationship is between those two things as we become philosophers that seek the truth of reality in a liberal education. We will wrap up and tie this up on Tuesday. We will transition then, the first, say, half hour, 20 minutes, will be wrapping up what it means to be human in a liberal art education from Pieper's article on the liberal arts. Then we're going to move into this idea that as we pursue freedom, we want to be careful of bullshit. So we have two articles. The Defense of Freedom from Joseph Pieper, same guy that wrote the one on liberal education. So liberal education leads to freedom. In the process of being liberally educated, we want to watch out for bullshit. Don't step in the manure. Right? So this is Linda Zagzebski. She's a philosopher from, I think, the University of Oklahoma. The title is called Bullshit. Cool? Grab one of each of these on your way out the door. For the question. For the definition? Yes. The definition, just put in your notebook. Thanks, everybody. Great class. Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.